Let's say you have $300,000. Not a fantasy, not a dream. A real, actual $300,000 sitting in your account right now. Hey, it's Mark. Welcome back to Mark the Investor, the channel where I break down money, investing, and wealth building into simple, honest videos that anyone can understand. Now, today we are answering one of the biggest money debates people have. $300,000 in a house or $300,000 in the stock market. You hold both for 20 years. Which one actually makes you richer? Most people think they already know the answer. I promise you. Most people are wrong. Let's get into it. And you have two choices. Choice one, you buy a house, a real home, something with your name on the deed, a front door you own, and a mortgage you'll spend the next 30 years paying off. The choice your parents made, the choice society has told you is the smart, responsible, grown-up thing to do. Choice two, you put that same $300,000 into the stock market. You don't buy a house. You rent somewhere comfortable. You live your life, and you let your money work silently in the background while you sleep. Now here's the question most people never actually sit down and answer honestly. 20 years from now, which version of you is richer? Not just on paper, in real life. After all the costs, the repairs, the taxes, the fees, the maintenance bills, and the market crashes. Most people think they already know the answer. Most people are wrong. We grow up hearing the same story. Renting is throwing money away. A house is the best investment you'll ever make. Real estate always goes up. Build equity, not someone else's. Own your home. It's the foundation of financial security. These beliefs are so deep, so widely accepted, that questioning them almost feels irresponsible, like telling someone not to wear a seatbelt. And the people who say them, your parents, your relatives, your friends who just closed on their first place, they believe it with absolute conviction. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of those beliefs were formed in a completely different era. An era when house prices were low relative to income, when interest rates behaved differently, when the stock market wasn't as accessible as it is today. The world has changed. The math has changed. The beliefs haven't. There's also a second problem. Nobody does the full calculation. When people say, "My house made me money," they count the sale price and compare it to what they paid. They feel wealthy, but they rarely subtract what they paid in mortgage interest over 30 years. They don't count the property taxes they paid every single year. They forget about the new roof, the boiler replacement, the kitchen remodel, the maintenance costs, the insurance, the agent fees when they sold. They don't adjust for inflation, and they definitely don't ask, what would have happened if I had invested that money instead? Today, we're going to do the honest calculation, all of it, and the result might genuinely surprise you. Let's run the numbers, real numbers, no tricks. You have $300,000. You use it as a down payment on a house. Most people don't buy a $300,000 house with $300,000 cash. They use it as a down payment on something bigger. But to keep this comparison clean and fair, let's say you buy a $300,000 house outright, with cash. No mortgage. Best case scenario for the house buyer. You now own a $300,000 home. Over 20 years, what happens? The U.S. housing market has historically appreciated at roughly 3 to 4% per year. Let's use 4%, which is generous. After 20 years at 4% annual growth, your $300,000 home is worth approximately $657,000. On the surface, that sounds incredible. You more than doubled your money. But now we subtract the costs. Property taxes in most parts of the U.S. average around 1.1% of the home's value per year. On a $300,000 home, that's $3,300 in year one, and it rises as the home's value rises. Over 20 years, you'll pay somewhere between $80,000 and $100,000 in property taxes alone. Then there's maintenance. The standard rule in real estate is that you should budget 1 to 2% of your home's value per year for upkeep and repairs. That's $3,000 to $6,000 a year. Over 20 years, call it $70,000 to $80,000 conservatively. Add homeowner's insurance, roughly $1,500 a year, so $30,000 over 20 years. And when you eventually sell, real estate agent commissions typically run 5 to 6% of the sale price. On a $657,000 home, that's another $33,000 to $39,000 gone in a single transaction. Now let's add it all up. You started with a $300,000 asset. After 20 years, it's worth $657,000. But subtract roughly $100,000 in taxes, $75,000 in maintenance, $30,000 in insurance, and $36,000 in selling costs. Your real net profit is somewhere around $116,000. Your $300,000 turned into $416,000 in actual spendable money. After 20 years, that's a real return of about 38% over 2 decades, which works out to less than 2% per year in real terms. Now let's look at the other side. You take the same $300,000. You invest it in a simple, low-cost index fund tracking the S&P 500. You do nothing. You don't touch it. You don't panic sell. You just let it sit. The S&P 500 has returned an average of roughly 10% per year before inflation over the long term and about 7% after inflation. Let's use 7%, the conservative inflation-adjusted figure, to be completely fair. $300,000 at 7% for 20 years. The result, approximately $1,161,000, over $1 million, from doing nothing but leaving your money in an index fund. And your costs? An index fund expense ratio typically runs 0.03 to 0.1% per year. On $300,000, that's almost nothing, maybe $1,500 total over 20 years. So your $300,000 became roughly $1,160,000 in real, inflation-adjusted terms. Your net profit is about $860,000. Compare that to the house, $116,000 net profit. The stock portfolio wins by a margin of more than 7 to 1. Now let's pause because this is where most people push back. But you have to live somewhere. You can't live inside a stock portfolio. That's completely true. And it's the most important part of the real comparison. The stock investor still has to pay rent. So let's factor that in. Let's say they rent for $1,500 a month, $18,000 a year, for 20 years. That's $360,000 in total rent payments. Subtract $360,000 from $860,000 in stock profits. You get $500,000 net. The house owner's net gain was $116,000. The renter investor's net gain, after paying all that rent, is still $500,000. The stock investor still wins by more than 4 to 1, even after paying 20 years of rent. Now here's the deeper psychological truth buried in all of this. The reason homeownership has felt like such a great deal for so long isn't just financial, it's behavioral. A house forces you to save. When you pay a mortgage, you're building equity whether you feel like it or not. The payment is automatic, it's committed. It happens before you can spend the money on something else. Most people, if they didn't have a mortgage forcing them to save, wouldn't invest that money. They'd spend it. They'd upgrade their lifestyle. They'd upgrade the car, the holidays, the subscriptions, the restaurants. The money would evaporate. So for most people, a house isn't a great investment. It's a forced savings account with a very expensive fee structure. And for people who wouldn't invest the difference otherwise, it might still be the right choice for them psychologically. But here's what changes everything. If you are the kind of person who would actually invest the difference, who would put the money in an index fund and leave it there for 20 years, then buying a house purely as a financial decision is one of the most expensive choices you can make. There's one more thing the numbers can't fully capture, and that's the opportunity cost of your attention. A house requires something stocks never ask for: your time, your stress, your emotional energy, leaky roofs, difficult neighbors, renovation decisions, insurance claims, property tax appeals. Owning a home is a second job that pays below market rates. A stock portfolio sits quietly in an app. It demands nothing from you except patience. So what does all of this actually mean for you? First, stop treating a house as your primary wealth-building strategy. A home can be a great place to live. It can provide stability, community, and roots. Those things have real value. but it is not your investment portfolio. Treat it like a lifestyle choice and build your wealth separately. Second, understand your own psychology. If you genuinely know you would invest the difference between rent and a mortgage payment every month, consistently, for 20 years, then the math strongly favors renting and investing. If you honestly know you'd spend it, then the forced savings mechanism of home ownership might still be the better path for you personally. Third, the true cost of home ownership is almost always higher than people expect. Before you buy, calculate all the costs, not just the mortgage, property taxes, maintenance, insurance, opportunity cost, agent fees. Run the full number. Make the decision with open eyes. Fourth, the stock market's biggest advantage is something almost nobody talks about: liquidity. If your entire net worth is locked in a house and you need money, you can't sell 10% of your kitchen. You either take on debt or you sell everything. An investment portfolio lets you access exactly what you need when you need it, without disrupting the rest. And fifth, this is perhaps the most important of all. Don't let social pressure make a $500,000 decision for you. The pressure to buy a house is enormous. Family expectations, cultural narratives, the idea that renting means you've failed somehow. None of those voices know your numbers. None of them will be writing the checks. Only you will. Here's what the honest math tells us. A $300,000 house bought today, held for 20 years, will likely net you somewhere around $116,000 in real profit after costs. $300,000 invested in the stock market, held for 20 years, will likely net you somewhere above $800,000, even after paying rent the entire time. The numbers aren't close. But here's the thing, this video isn't telling you not to buy a house. It's telling you to stop buying a house because you think it's the smartest financial move available to you, because the data says it probably isn't. Buy a house if you want stability. Buy a house if you want to put down roots. Buy a house if it genuinely fits your life. Those are all valid, important reasons that have nothing to do with investment returns. But don't buy a house because everyone told you it was the responsible thing to do. Don't buy a house because renting feels like failure. Don't buy a house without running the full math first, because 20 years from now, the question isn't which choice looked more impressive at a dinner party. The question is, which choice actually made you wealthier? And on that question, the numbers have already given us the answer. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now, because every single week, we cover topics like this one that your school, your parents, and your bank never taught you. If you haven't watched my last video yet, I'll leave it right up here. It's called The Difference Between Rich and Poor Thinking, and it will completely change the way you think about saving. Go watch it after this one.